Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Wrestling Takes, and today we're honouring the career of the icon, Sting. This past Sunday at AEW Revolution, the icon Sting had his final ever match. This match was absolutely mental. Some hated it, some loved it, but Darby Allin was the main talking point, obviously, doing that absolutely incredible, crazy, reckless, suicidal, whatever the hell you want to call it, dive through the glass, which did actually injure some AEW fans, and AEW have rejected to claim liability for that, which is an interesting situation, but that's a topic for another video. But yeah, Sting has retired, guys. What do we think of this? I personally thought that his last match was a pretty decent one, although I think he did deserve to go out on a bit of a grander stage. Him and Darby versus the Young Bucks is a good match, but it's not a huge match. To me, Sting deserved a WrestleMania level match to go out on against some more credible opponents. I'm not saying that they're bad, and I'm not saying that AEW Revolution's bad, but for someone of his stature, I'm not sure it's worthy of being a retirement match for someone like Sting. But it's not for me to decide what he does with his career. He's 64-year-old, and he did very, very well to get to that point, and he is one of the greatest of all time. But yeah, let's talk about why he's the greatest of all time. The main thing I would say that Sting has managed to do that many, many other wrestlers have not managed to do is to reinvent himself, and he's done that on multiple occasions. Obviously, in the 80s and 90s, Sting began his career in WCW with his sort of superhero kind of vibe, with his Ultimate Warrior style face paint with the blonde hair, beach muscles kind of Sting, which, yeah, again, instantly got him a rise to the top in a lot of main event scenes with the Nature Boy Ric Flair, and it helped get his name out there, especially in the Southern wrestling scene in Georgia, Florida. But yeah, that's where Sting started. But in the mid to late 90s, things were starting to get a little bit stale, and obviously with the NWO, Sting wasn't really getting much action on in WCW TV on Nitro, so he yeah, I don't think anybody at the time would have expected it, but looking back, it seems so obvious. He debuted Crow Sting. Now Sting was turning up in the rafters. He was entering down from a zip line from the rafters. It was absolutely crazy. But he just turned himself into the Undertaker of WCW. But it was mental. He had white face paint. He had a black cloak. He had a baseball bat. A whole different vibe than his beach Sting kind of vibe. But that's what I'm saying about Sting. Other than maybe the Undertaker and Chris Jericho, he's been the one that's been able to reinvent himself on so many occasions. Because after that, he joined the NWO Wolfpack and reinvented himself again, turning his face paint red. Then he did obviously join TNA in I think 2003. And yeah, it looked like Sting was never ever going to join WWE, obviously, because after the WCW folded and was bought out by Vince McMahon, Sting was one of the only WCW guys, or at least main eventers, that never made that jump over to WWE. And he does say that he just never really trusted that Vince McMahon would be able to do that and book him correctly. But he did admit that he almost debuted at WrestleMania 18 in a match against Kurt Angle, which, imagine if that had happened, how differently things would have gone. I wonder where Sting's career would have actually gone if that would have happened. But yeah, it didn't, and he did decide to go to TNA and win multiple world titles there, which was definitely not a bad move for his career. Fast forward to 2014, and it looked like Sting would never ever turn up in WWE. But it was Survivor Series. It was Team Authority versus Team Cena, and it was Dolph Ziggler in a 3v1. And the rest is history. We all know what happened. Dolph Ziggler managed to somehow win that 3v1, which is a whole story of itself. But he would not have been able to do that without the assistance of the Icon. Obviously, Triple H and the Authority were assisting Dolph Ziggler, and it looked like Triple H had just cost Ziggler and Team Cena the match. No, the lights turn off, the music hits. Sting arrived in WWE for the first time in history, and that was absolutely wild. Obviously, not Sting in his prime, but still a very, very good version of Sting. And for the next few months, it was just a very entertaining time until WrestleMania 31, where he would face the game Triple H, and this is where things would take a turn for the worst. He faced Triple H, and then the NWO came out to help him after DX came out to help Triple H, which again didn't really make sense because the NWO was enemies back in the WCW days. And then what's worse, Triple H beat him, and then they shook hands after. It was just Vince McMahon's way of saying WCW was not as good as WWE. DX is better than NWO. F you to the whole lot of them that went to WCW. And it was just Triple H had no reason at all to win that match. Sting should have 100% won, and that was unfortunately Sting's only ever WrestleMania match, because a few months later, at Night of Champions, he would go on to face Seth Freaking Rollins, obviously just known as Seth Rollins back then, for the WWE World Heavyweight Championship, and he would take a buckle bomb from Rollins, and we know this move's injured a lot of people in the past. Also, Finn Balor, obviously, when he did it on the barricade and he injured his shoulder. But this move went horrendous, and Sting's back, it just blew out, and he could not continue the match. He tried, and he was running the ropes, and he just couldn't even run the ropes. He was collapsing, and he said he was very close to being paralyzed. So yeah, that was the end of Sting's career as far as we were concerned. 6 years passed, and nobody ever thought we'd ever get to see Sting in the ring again. I think nor did people even particularly want the need to see him again, because he's had such a good career. And at 61-year-old, not many wrestlers are still around. But in a shocking turn of events, Sting would go and join AEW and debut there. And he had a fantastic 3-year run, considering he's in his 60s. He obviously teamed up with Darby Allin, which did help him, because at that age, I think he'd find it hard to have a lot of singles matches. But yeah, his AEW wasn't the best run of his career by any stretch of the imagination, but it was nonetheless still a very fun time for Sting. And that all culminated at AEW Revolution last Sunday in his final ever match against the Young Bucks alongside Darby Allin. Like I said, the biggest moment of the match was obviously Darby Allin jumping through that glass, but that wasn't the main thing that got the headlines. It was obviously Sting retiring, and some of you may be wondering what is next for Sting. But I have heard that Tony Khan's offered him a place on the board, but he said he's not really sure what he can offer. But yeah, this just does beg the question: where does Sting rank in terms of all time? If someone said to me, "Is Sting in the top 10 of all time?" I don't think I could honestly say yes. Maybe in the top 15 or 20, purely because of the fact he never ever won a title in WWE. I don't know how crazy that sounds, but he never even won a mid card or tag title in WWE, which is just kind of sad, honestly. Such a legend to never have won anything on the grander stage. But yeah, even still, he is one of the most iconic wrestlers of all time. It is in his name, the icon, Sting. But I just wanted to make this video to say one thing, really, and that's what I'm going to end on. Thank you, Sting. Thank you for entertaining people for generations, for over 4 decades. What a legend. What an icon. Sting, I hope you find joy doing something else, whether that's being on the board at AEW, or maybe managing Darby Allin, or just relaxing in becoming a pensioner. But anyway, that was the whole point of the video, guys. Just basically to say a big thank you to Sting. And a big thank you to you guys as well for watching this video. And yeah, any other suggestions, if any videos, please do let me know in the comments. Give this a like, share it around, and I will see you guys in the next one. See ya.